It's okay, you can still talk, just because we're live. It's just the pre-show. Who cares?
I've never jumped out of a plane, but it feels like I'm waiting to jump out. Like with a bunch of people, we're just like on deck.
I don't know, it's like, I don't know if you guys watch pre-show for like Joe Rogan or, what's his name? Shock Jock guy. Howard Stern.
Howard Stern, yeah.
Yeah, they just hanging out, just hang out. I mean, yes, there could be famous people in the room, but you're not sitting right next to them. It's not like you're serving them. You're just sitting there.
Right.
So.
Just praying my mic doesn't go out.
And if it does, you can always reload.
Yeah.
But you're not the one worrying about the data bandwidth going out for streaming. So if the stream goes out, it's my fault.
So we got Pathfinder in, Tron in, Nonprofit. We're just missing Doug. But what I'm going to do is, it sounded like Tron did ping Doug. So I'm going to go ahead and get the podcast link available, and you guys can jump over to the podcast, so we can at least squat in there for a minute until Doug jumps in. I don't know, Tron, were you able to get in touch with Doug?
I did text him. He hasn't responded, so yeah, so I don't know what to do with that.
Tron.
All right, I'm gonna jump out and send you guys a link.
Where are you gonna put the link? Just before? Is it gonna go in general or?
Send it to I want to send it to the private Raven dev chat. You guys should have a link. I've already sent you guys that. And the reason I wanted it in a private link, because the last time I did the interview with Tron, oh man, I totally made a big mistake and sent out a link to a public channel, and there were so many people jumping in that I was scared. Like Pathfinder was one of them. I didn't know who Pathfinder was. Yeah, he was just one of the many that jumped in. There was a lot of people that jumped in.
Who's this dude?
People that jumped in. I was like, please don't ruin it. Please don't ruin it. So this time I went ahead and created a private channel, and I sent you guys a link. You guys should have that.
Where's that? Where's that link? I don't see. Where'd you send it to me? DM me in Discord or?
Yeah, you should have sent it directly to you.
Yeah, I sent you guys all this.
Yeah,
I got it, John.
You sent it directly to us on our private chats. So yeah, but he did create another one called private-raven-dev-chat that he'll probably drop the link into.
I'm not in that
Yeah,
channel.
I don't see the link either.
Uh-oh.
All right,
I'm getting messages failed to load, John.
I have the private.
Open it up.
Yeah, don't you?
Okay, then how about?
Yeah, hold on. Did you guys just get invites?
Did you just send them directly?
I sent it a few minutes ago.
Nope.
All right, then what I will do is just go ahead and post. We'll see what happens.
You can always post it and then we delete it. Post it to something more generic and then delete it right after everyone's got in.
That's what I did. That's what I did last time. So
I see messages failed to load.
Okay. So I'll send it to the Ravencoin community questions. That's what it'll be. You guys do have access to that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna jump out, create the link, and I'll post it there.
Okay.
And you guys, I'm sure you all know this, but make sure to drop the Discord chat or else we have a weird feedback issue.
Roger that.
Yeah, so in the meantime here, if everyone is, no, that's my voice at all. Anyone's out there listening, I don't want to just leave it blank. I'll be joining this shortly. Let's see here. Joining into the new one. Here we go. Oh, no, don't use that microphone. Use this microphone. John! Hey!
Hey, Jake. Mike,
Good.
Tron, Pathfinder.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Anyone else coming in?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yep.
I see John, Pathfinder, Mike, Jake, Tron. We're missing nonprofit. You might.
I don't see a connected underneath my name. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't either. So you shouldn't see it under your own.
Oh, okay. Good. That was the only thing I was worried about.
I checked out spatial.io yesterday. That was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Oops. I do that. That's the problem with streaming live is whatever you accidentally put on the screen is there forever.
Getting all full messages.
Don't accidentally put your private keys on the stream.
It's okay. The stream's got a filter. Like if you type in your private keys, it just puts a bunch of X's. Go ahead and try, see. And then...
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
what is nonprofit talking about? All full message.
Is there a limit to how many people you could have on
Not
an Anchor
to my
podcast?
knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Oh wait, are you saying that maybe there's too many people on the Anchor chat?
Absolutely not. No, no, because I can still add more. So
All
I'm
right.
gonna go ahead and create another link. Send this to him.
That's really strange. I didn't know it was.
All right. So before we get started with the podcast, I always like to start off with an introduction with those folks that have not been on the podcast before. And since Pathfinder hasn't been here before, I'm going to ask him to go ahead and introduce himself. How weird. Yeah, Nonprofit saying that the podcast is full. That's the oddest thing. And I keep sending him a new link, but huh.
Let me try jumping out.
Oh, you just did it. So now Mike's gone. Does that mean Pathfinder can come in?
Wait a minute.
Not Pathfinder.
I'm
Sorry,
there.
nonprofit.
No, it's
My
nonprofit.
bad. I'm sorry to confuse you guys.
Where am I?
Where am I?
My apologies.
Who's this? Who's talking?
Whose voice is that? Yeah. Man, that's not. There we go. We got him.
There.
So I do have a limitation, huh? That's unfortunate. Sorry, Mike.
So you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we had to sacrifice one of our guys to get you in here.
Okay.
But how is Mike going to read his questions now?
I know, I know. I'm not sure what to do. Unless you want to swap out with them periodically with Mike, Jake.
I can swap out as well. I have just a few that I've been getting from, very technical people in Raven at the moment. So.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want, actually, Jake, if you can send a link to nonprofit, just so he can see the live stream of what's going on, so he can stay on par with where we're
You mean Mike?
where we're at. Oh yeah, Mike. Well, actually, everybody, you should do that. You should send a link to the Ravencoin community questions. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, anyone that hasn't been on the podcast, I like for them to introduce themselves. I'll go ahead and open that up and just kind of go with your personal history of how you got into blockchain. I'll go ahead and I do that. When in regards to noise level, there is some background noise. I do hear bird chirping. If possible, keep the background noise level to a minimum because it does interrupt the podcast. Same thing with doors, people talking in the background. All right, here we go. Ready? 5, 4, 3. All right, Cryptonauts, welcome back. We have Tron in the house. We have Pathfinder. We have Nonprofit, and we have Jake. So we're here just to pretty much follow up on the Ravencoin community questions that have been asked in the past few weeks because there's a lot of questions that have been coming from the community and just want to know more or less what's going on with the future development of Ravencoin. So the last time we talked with Tron. He went ahead and introduced himself. This time, I want to talk to Nonprofit and get to know him a little bit and have the community know who he is. So, Nonprofit, hello.
Hello.
All right, Nonprofit, if you can, please introduce yourself and how you got into blockchain technology. Like, what did you do before you got into blockchain?
Well, I've been highly involved in IT throughout my career. Transitioned into more of a management role, but always, stuck with the technical aspects of IT. Got into blockchain, I guess, way back in 2010. Originally started mining Bitcoin, this new fancy thing that hit the internet that barely anyone knew about. I just started playing around with it. Put it away for a while. Classic story, I guess. December 2017 came around, and lo and behold, I found out that had something valuable. So I would guess that maybe the second phase of blockchain for me started around then. Really got heavily involved in mining and cryptocurrency in general. Discovered Raven in January 2018 when the blockchain and the project launched, and really liked the fundamentals. I love the fact that it compared very easily with Bitcoin and was based on that philosophy. So without knowing too much about how it was going to end up going, I decided it was a low-risk endeavor. So I decided to get involved and started mining it and started, participating in the community, getting to know everyone. And so far, so good. I've really enjoyed my time and looking forward to the future.
Nice. So you've pretty much been there since day one, right?
Week one, about 10 days after launch was when I started.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. In regards to the development from the beginning to now, is it been more easy to use? Is it becoming more complicated? Is it more sophisticated? Is it more enjoyable to use?
Personally, and I also moderate the Telegram channel, so I spend a vast majority of my day assisting, new people to Raven and even existing users. I found it's much easier to use. Now, we're growing and we're growing rapidly, and we're of course dealing with the usual bumps in the road that any project would deal with as they scale up. But we seem to be handling those in a relatively effective manner. I just think with the outside development we're getting and the support from other places, I'll mention Mango Farms specifically, they've been fantastic. It seems to be getting easier and easier. And the beautiful thing about Raven is that we have a lot of community support, a very strong and active community, some very highly technical and talented people who have been adding tremendous amounts of functionality to the blockchain. So I'm excited for the future.
Yeah. So in regards to what you're doing right now, you're volunteering your time, right? And go ahead.
No, I was going to say yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yes, and the reason I ask that because a lot of people in the community, Telegram and Discord, are trying to figure out why do you do this? Why do you volunteer your time? You're not getting paid, and you're spending many hours doing this, answering all these questions.
Well, I guess that's a philosophical question. We all survived 2008. I believe in the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. I believe that it has the effect to change the world. I think we do exist and operate under an unfair system. And I would like to, just have the playing field leveled a little bit for the common person out there. I'm a relatively middle-aged person. I've kind of lived long enough to see a few cycles happen throughout humanity. And it seems like we really have a chance now to kind of, again, level the playing field and kind of bring it back from the level that it's gotten recently. There's too much wealth heading in one direction. I'd like to see that more transferred back into the hands of the people and allow them to have more control over their own destinies instead of relying on other people. So that fundamentally and philosophically is primarily why I got involved in cryptocurrency, and part of the reason I love Raven. So because of that, I just believe in the success of this project. Yes, of course, I am a Raven holder, but at the same time, I think that this project has one of the best chances of actually fundamentally changing the way that we operate and the way that the people control their own value and their own wealth. So in believing in it, it makes it easy for me to volunteer my time.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thank you, nonprofit, for being here. I appreciate it. Let's go to Pathfinder. Pathfinder, hello. If you can, please introduce yourself and what did you do before you got into blockchain?
Yeah. I have a very long, non-linear career. My background's actually in healthcare. I worked in neurology field, doing neuroscience research for a long time. And then I started getting interested in not just electronic medical records, but in online communities of patients, how people could help each other and not just rely solely on, their healthcare, their single physician or so forth, and patient support communities and things like that. So I got very interested in online communities, and I switched gears. I started writing grants for NIH and National Library of Medicine to build online environments where people collaborated together and shared information. And I really loved the sort of democratization of all of that, of information, giving everyone access to information, giving people a more active role, more sovereignty and agency in their own healthcare. And over the years, I actually got also involved in increased emotional bandwidth in online communities. So I was one of the early people at a company called Linden Lab. We made this virtual world called Second Life that was pretty big for a while. And
Yes.
Yeah, then I got really interested in it just started spreading that sort of philosophy, right? And so I started thinking about um, that slogan, fix the money, fix the world, right? Yeah, I started thinking about really how a lot of the fundamental problems of inequity, inequality, and people not having equal levels of equity in systems revolved around financial systems. And so I started getting, that's how I like nonprofit, I discovered Bitcoin back in the day, and then over the years, then when Ravencoin popped up on my radar, what fascinated me fundamentally were two things. One was, the idea of assets, tokenized assets, tokenized
Hmm.
securities. If you look at the global market, it the dollars, the money floating around is a drop in the bucket compared to the assets, compared to the way the tokenized securities and so forth and so on. And the second thing was I just was blown away with the community of Ravencoin. I mean, I was same way, like in the early days. Back in my day, we did it with CPUs. We could mine with CPUs. I remember. And
Hmm.
but it was just a wonderful community, and it captured a lot of the spirit. Not a lot. It captured perfectly the spirit of the initial Bitcoin community, right? Because you have to remember when Ravencoin appeared on the stage, it's 2018. Early 2018, late 2017, but launching in January 2018, and I had just seen so much crap with ICOs and just
Yeah.
companies coming in just trying. And I'm like, God damn it! It's just and then I saw, and then Ravencoin caught my eye because it always kept an eye on Bruce Fenton, and I was like, Bruce has got that core philosophy. He's with the he's always had that, and I just started dipping my toes in the water with Ravencoin, and I love the technology. I love the very clear use case, right? Very crystal clear use case. And I was like, this is all the best parts of what Bitcoin was in the early days. And
Absolutely.
that's really what took off for me. And so I dove into the, in particular, like the Discord community, because that was really where things started taking shape initially. And I started I started making memes, and then I became really known for that, and like doing them really quick and on the fly. And I was like, okay, this is how I'll contribute. I'll help grow the Discord community. I also ran these really popular trivia nights in Discord where we'd be giving away hundreds of Raven coins now that I think of it, it's like, how much did I give away? It's like, yeah, you answered a question right. You're 500 Raven. I'm like, really?
Wow.
I remember those days, Pathfinder.
Yeah, and it was just the community was so much fun, and I did this one called Animal Trivia. It was like weird animal trivias, and I used to do memes for it all the time. And I floated around in lots of other cryptocurrency projects, other blockchain projects over time, and I have to just say, Ravencoin always just was the nearest and dearest to my heart because I saw the best in the from the Bitcoin community, from also just my experience with online communities in general throughout my whole career. So, um, yeah, that's about
Nice.
it. I'm
Nice.
stuck. I'm stuck with this.
You're hooked. You're hooked. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing to see everyone's, I guess, personal evolution and getting into crypto and moving forward and it ending up where they're at now. Like with me as well. I started off knowing nothing about coding or anything, but as I went along, I became more interested by reading, Satoshi's white paper, and as I went along, I jumped into different exchanges, tried a day trade, not for me, and then I tried mining. That was awesome because that was the first time that I got my my hands on into some basic copy and paste coding, trying to turn on some ASICs. That was amazing, loved it. And then I got into just investing into ICOs, which a lot of them were boom, right? A lot of them, it is what it is. Then I did a lot of uh, uh, meetups. I did meetups here in Silicon Valley. I live in San Jose, and I did some meetups out here, and I loved it. I love meeting people. It was a great experience, man. Those are the good old days. I loved it because it's so energetic. Um, and now, and now I'm out here trying to get this podcast going and continue what I like to do, which is just spread knowledge, spread crypto education to those that are trying to get into the field and instead of being blindfolded and jumping into a scam, hey, you know what? I want to talk about some good stuff out there. And I know without a doubt, Ravencoin is a real thing. It's pure. They're working on things. It's not a scam. Even though a lot of people out there are trying to say it's a scam because it pumped up and then it went back down. That's just the market. That's just the market. That's not what Ravencoin is doing. They're not intentionally trying to pump and dump the coin. It's the market flow. All right, so are we ready? We have Tron, Nonprofit, and Pathfinder, and Jake. It looks like I do have Mango on standby, but as we talked about before, we actually do have a limitation on this podcast, which I just found out today. So if one of you guys want to jump out at a later time, when it's time for Mango to talk, I would ask if somebody can kindly jump out so Mango can jump in at a later time. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the questions. Questions. You guys ready for all the questions? Oh, it took us a long time to get all these questions put together.
Well, we're ready.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tron's ready, but we're ready for sure.
I'm ready. Let's try.
All right. Awesome. Okay. This question is from LSJI07. Question number 1. What is and when will the P2SH code for assets be forked onto the network? Anyone, please.
Okay, you dropped there for a second, so I didn't hear the question.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so the question is, what is and when will the P2SH code for assets be forked onto the network?
Gotcha. Great question. So the P2SH code is already submitted, already paid the developer, and just because it affects consensus, and because we just went through a relatively expensive
Uh-oh.
Oh, I heard
audit firm.
Sounds like we lost Tron.
You did?
I heard the end there. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So we basically want to get a security audit for it. So I'm talking to another security company on Monday. We have another one with a bid. So basically 2 competing bids. We'll pick from those 2. We'll get a security audit and then we'll put it in. It does require all the miners to adopt it. And basically what it is, it's the ability for more complex scripts to be used with assets. So P2SH was always there for Raven. You could do multi-sig and things like that. But the code was not there for assets. And so if you wanted to do like a, 8 of 12 multi-sig or something like that, you couldn't do it with assets. You could do it with Raven. And so you'll be able to do that now.
Good, thank you. And I guess you kind of already answered the second question, which is why is it important that P2SH code for assets be forked onto the network? I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, or it's up to you, Tron.
Yeah, so I just kind of answered the two together, I guess. So,
Right.
so it's really for more complex scripts, so you can do multi-sig with assets. And the
Mhm.
reason that's important is because let's say you had very high value assets, something that represented a share of of gold or of a building or something like that. That may need to go in a custodian. Custodians really like to have multi-sig so that they can do more security.
Okay. All right, and that was actually from LSJI07. Third question, and this one I kind of scraped off of, I think on Telegram. Nonprofit, or yeah, nonprofit asked this question. What is the status of the Coinbase Ravencoin listing? Please, Tron. Tron, you there? Seems like we lost him.
Oh.
Can
All right.
can Tron still hear me? I don't know if maybe John dropped off. Tron, can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you
can hear
perfectly
you.
fine.
Okay, maybe Tron is disconnected.
Let's go to the next question. We'll come back to that one in a bit. This one is for, let's see. This is a question from me. How do you make a Raven asset, and in what ways does it differentiate from assets made on the Ethereum network? I would have liked if Mongo Farms can jump in for that one.
Tron dropped, just
I
so you
see
know.
that. Yeah, yeah, I see that. Wow, wow, wow. Well, so we'll jump on to, let's see.
Do you want me to drop off so that Mango Farm can come in?
Who's that?
This
Uh,
is
that
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder?
Yeah. If there's a slot
Path-
issue, I'm happy to drop off to let Mango back in.
If you don't mind, hold on a second. Let me just find some questions that are directed to you specifically.
Probably not any.
Uh,
I'm not the technical guy. It's fine. I'm
okay.
the community
All
guy.
right. All right. All right. Sounds good. If you don't mind, I would appreciate
No
it.
worries. Tell Mango I said hi.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Sure. Bye.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Let's go ahead and send an invite to Mr. Mingo. No worries. Okay. All right. So we got nonprofit. Nonprofit, are you still there?
yes,
Hopefully
I
we
am,
got-
John.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and ask. There are a lot of questions for you, actually. So let's go on down to the list. Question. Raven filed the application to Coinbase back in. No, actually, that was a question from you. Sorry about that. Let's see. Answers.
John, I know the question that you're referring to. I get that a
Oh.
lot from the users of the Telegram. We have over 11,000 people in one Telegram channel and about
Wow.
3,000 in the other channel. So we we could get quite a few questions on a daily basis, as I'm sure you can imagine. One of the primary questions that's asked constantly is, when is Raven going to be listed on Coinbase? So
Mhm.
I've taken it upon myself, talk to Tron a little bit, ask some of the, other people heavily involved in Raven. And I guess the best answer I can give is that the application was filed in mid-January to Coinbase. Coinbase had come back to Raven asking for a few additional details, such as a legal opinion based on, whether Raven was a security or not, and also they wanted the results of the security audit. So that was provided to Coinbase. Based on my understanding, and I guess was confirmed from Tron, Raven did meet all of the criteria for listing on Coinbase. However, Coinbase is generally very secretive about new projects that they may or may not list. And then their IPO, which they just recently filed, is also kind of a roadblock. I don't personally think that they're going to be listing any new projects until they complete that IPO process. They may, but it just, from my experience, companies generally kind of put the brakes on everything while they're going through that process. So
Right.
we're in a wait and see mode, I guess would be the best way to say it. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of demand. I'll say that for certain. A lot of people want to see Raven on Coinbase. So we'll hope for the best, but that's the current status, and we'll see what the results are.
Nice, nice. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that. That was great. The next question is, let's see, how do you make a Raven asset, and what does it differentiate from the assets made on the Ethereum network?
Well, the making of a Raven asset is actually quite simple. You can do it directly through the desktop wallet. There are a lot of third-party wallets that are out there. Some have the functionality, some do not. Mango Farms is a very important partner in the Raven community. They're also a board member with the Raven Foundation. They're kind of going to the next level on the creation of Raven assets. It's really quite a simple process. You need 500 Raven, which is the cost of creating an asset. You're able to actually, right through the desktop wallet, search for the name of the asset that you would like to create. The wallet will tell you if that name is already in use. If you reach out a little bit, or maybe Google, we have an asset explorer that lists all the current names of all the assets that have been created so far, which is over 25,000 currently. So you can do it directly through the desktop wallet. It's a very simple and simplified process. It's not complicated whatsoever. However, I do want to stress that if you do find some trouble, you're certainly welcome to reach out to the Raven community. People in the Discord and on the Telegram are very helpful. Even community members, not necessarily a mod or an admin or something, you're absolutely welcome to ask a question, and somebody will certainly help you. Once that process is completed, you'll get confirmation directly within the wallet. Your new asset appears right in the wallet, and lo and behold, you have your new asset. There's a few little particulars you have to pay attention to. You are able to define right from the beginning whether you want that to be a single asset or the ability, or to have the ability to create up to 21 billion sub assets underneath that primary asset. That's something that you want to pay attention to, because you have to designate that as you create the asset. But again, once you do create that asset, it does appear directly in your wallet, and then you'll have full control over what you would like to do with that asset. I did want to add that once you do spend the Raven, the 500 Raven to create the asset, those Raven are burned. And that's part of the deflationary schedule that we have inside of Raven. Those Raven are burned forever and are removed from the chain. So that applies to the total supply of Raven.
All right, thank you, nonprofit. So far, what I'm trying to do on the back end while you're speaking, I'm trying to get Tron back in. I'm trying to get Mango Farms in. I've sent them links. It seems like they're having issues on their side. It has nothing to do with the platform itself. They're trying to get in. They're having some issues getting in. But if you don't mind, we'll continue on to the next question.
Sure thing, John.
All right. So the next question is, how is the Raven Foundation going to get its funding, and what existing funding do they have?
Well, the Raven Foundation is modeled after the Bitcoin Foundation. So we really are trying to pay attention to the philosophy of no central authority or no central figure, which is one of the tenets of decentralization as a whole. Decentralization basically means you put it out there. If it's good enough, people are going to use it. People are going to build on it. It's going to become accepted. We hope that happens for Raven. It certainly is going well so far. Bitcoin would be the perfect example of a pure decentralized project that was created and appeared suddenly on the spectrum, and has obviously grown substantially since its creation. The Raven Foundation was created again to model after the original Bitcoin Foundation. And the funding specifically, currently we're on a donation model where if we have a specific task that needs to be accomplished, such as Tron mentioned, the development proposals that have been recently tasked through the foundation. For example, the P2SH development proposal was put on the Raven Foundation's website. The call went out for donations, and that entire development proposal was funded in less than 3 hours. So we're currently
Wow.
we're currently under discussions based on the most recent dev meeting about possibly, I don't want to put it too much out there without Tron's permission, but possibly going to a model where we're able to dedicate a certain percentage of a mining pool that will go to a dev fund. But that's still in the discussion phase. So I don't want to jump too far ahead on that. Recently, Blockchain Tiger, which is one of our big Korean partners, they donated over $100,000 worth of Raven, to the foundation to further development efforts. I'm not. I think the most recent wallet balance that I saw, which was maybe a week or so ago, I think we're right around the $250,000 to $300,000 mark in total donations that are available for development work on the Raven chain currently.
Nice, nice. And I definitely want to give a plug-in and a big thank you to Blockchain Tiger, which donated 570,000 Raven coins. That is a big blessing to the Ravencoin community to continue developing this blockchain. That's so awesome. I don't know what else to say. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you, Blockchain Tiger, if you're listening to this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone else that is donating to the Ravencoin community. I like that. All right, so nonprofit, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the reins over to Jake Jabarelli to take over this podcast temporarily while I try to get Tron back into the podcast. And he has the set of questions that he'll continue asking me, okay?
Sounds good, John.
Cool.
All right, Jake.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Non?
Yeah, Jake, no problem.
Alrighty. Yeah, it's one technical problem after another, it seems. Anyway, so starting from furthering the questions along here, if you want to process Raven transactions for users through a web interface, would you need to run a node/wallet on the EC2 instance/dedicated server, or would it be possible to do with a serverless solution such as the Cloud Functions, AWS, Lambda, etc.? This question is from Luca.
Okay, well, Luca, we're going to have to put that question on hold. That's directly going to have to go to Tron.
Okay.
Tron will have the answer for that. I'm not nearly technical enough up the chain to be able to
All right,
give you.
Tron is in the house.
Yay!
I just joined, but I only caught the last part of that question.
I can read that again. Okay, so if you want to process Raven transactions for users through a web interface, would you need to run a node/wallet on an EC2 instance or dedicated server, or would it be possible to do with a serverless solution such as Cloud Functions, AWS, Lambda, etc.?
Gotcha. When you say process transactions for users, I'm not sure what that means. But as far as process meaning sign?
That's a good question. I don't think that Luca's not here to further ask the question or to elaborate on his own original question.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's hard for me to answer. I'm not sure what process transactions for users means. The core wallet, processes everybody's transaction. It checks all the signatures on everything as it scans the chain. So everybody does that kind of all the time. If you just need to submit a transaction, that can be done, again, kind of just posting it into the network in general. I just don't fully understand the question. So anyway, if we can get that clarified, I can get it answered.
I think we may have to just move on to the next question, because at this point I don't have Luca available to quickly get that clarified. Can you still hear me, Tron?
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's see here. Regarding assets, this was a long one. Yeah, this is from GC. Regarding assets, would it be possible to have an engine which would support custom metadata creation and a logic engine for it to manage the smart contracts? And this person has a very elaborate furthermore with his question.
Yeah, so I think I've looked at that as far as, I think what's happening is trying to build smart contracts on top of Ravencoin.
It wasn't built for that. Neither was Bitcoin. I know that RSK is one of the solutions for doing that. Um, so I would probably look at that as opposed to the option that I saw earlier, which was to put code into IPFS data and then try to run that, because it's fairly complex to do like a smart contract like Ethereum. All the data that you want has to be stored on chain. There has to be an economic model for storing it. Otherwise, people will just say, well, let's just store my library of books on this free chain. And so you have to have kind of a mechanism to protect against that. There's a lot of stuff that would have to go into it, I think.
Okay. I don't know if me going to his furthermore, he gave a lot of examples like game developer scenarios, DeFi scenarios, house rental scenarios to try to elaborate on his question. But I think you may have covered it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the benefits of wanting to have smart contracts on Ravencoin, because you see Ethereum kind of picking up and doing things like Uniswap and things like that, and so I think that's what people are looking at.
Okay. This question is from me, actually. Can Raven QT be mirrored into a VM?
Oh, that's from you?
It was from me, and Nonprofit originally answered it, I believe. I don't know if Nonprofit wants to hit it again.
Well, my understanding is that it is possible. Now, because I've spoken with people in the Telegram. I think I got this in Reddit, perhaps, where someone was talking about nodes, because we've recently been talking about node scalability and increasing that to provide more security and more function for the Raven blockchain. And my understanding is that it is possible that they were able to mirror one wallet node through multiple VMs to be able to provide a node in different locations. Now, please, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, Tron, but
I guess I had a furthermore on that. And it relates to that. Originally, we were talking about setting up, Raven nodes, Raspberry Pis. It's a simple way to do it and relatively inexpensive if you're savvy enough to set up a Pi, which honestly I don't think it's that complicated. But if you don't have the cash up front and you just want to do virtual because it's effectively easier, it might take a little learning, but setting up a VM isn't super complicated. But I was thinking about Docker as well. Is that something you can answer, Non?
I don't believe that would be on my agenda there to be able to answer that. That might be better directed at Tron or possibly Mike.
Okay. Well, the end goal, of course, was just to get more nodes on the network, but also because people like participating with it. I mean, obviously you can do it with a centralized exchange, but it just seems that doing it for oneself would be ultimately more functional. Oh, looks like we lost Tron again.
To add upon that, Jake, yeah, that's actually that's something that we're trying to accomplish currently, is kind of an education swarm to be able to get how to create a node out there. Now, Raven doesn't suffer from a lack of nodes, don't get me wrong, but obviously the more nodes, the better. So
yeah.
Tron himself has created some simplified instructions on how to run a node from your home based wallet. It's very simple as far as just changing a few settings within the wallet. And then there's some relatively easy port forwarding that you would need to do on your home router. And again, the more people that we can get to do that, the more secure the Raven chain is going to be. So we're looking to have that happen as soon as possible.
Alrighty. Okay, so this I guess is an open-ended. I guess this is a Mike question. Mike, do you want to answer? Do you want to ask for yourself?
Sure. It was
number
more
9.
Of a Tron question, though.
Is it directed to Tron?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a technical question about MetaMask.
Okay. Yeah, the answer, let's see, 10, I guess 10 is an open question. So, is anyone creating a stable-like asset pegged to fiat on the Raven platform? This is a John question, or directed to anyone who might be able to answer it.
Not that I'm aware of. There are rumors out there. I hate to talk about rumors or even give them any sort of weight whatsoever. But there are some rumors out there. So we'll wait for confirmation of those, I guess. I tend not to believe anything unless it's confirmed. Maybe Mike can speak more on that since he's more heavily involved with the Raven Foundation and so on.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything official either. I have heard that Watchdog Capital does want to work with Ravencoin, and if they do, they're going to need some kind of in-house stable coin. So potentially, but nothing official.
Cool. Okay. Well, rumors can be rumors. Maybe they're good rumors.
Well, frankly, Jake, those kind of rumors, that's not something that they would announce until it's been completed. So,
Gotcha.
That's why we wait for confirmation.
Okay, so this is a BC John question, and I guess if it's B2 Mango Farms, who's still not on the podcast, I don't know if anyone can answer it, but let's just say, how do you create a, quote, encrypted asset?
That definitely needs to be directed at Mango Farms because they're currently working on that functionality right now.
All right.
Yeah. If you go on their website, you can create an encrypted asset today with just a couple clicks.
Mike, you have a lot of questions coming up here. Do you want to ask the questions, even though you may be able to? I don't know if Nonprofit can answer them. I certainly can't.
Not really.
All right. Well, is it possible to compare and contrast Raven and Bitcoin as far as network security goes? Tron is back. Maybe Tron can answer this one. You there, Tron?
I am here. I apologize. I'm keep dropping. The audio dropped. It looks like I'm still connected, but I can't hear anything.
I'm sorry. Having so many problems with this, but I'll just ask the question again, so you may have missed it when I asked it. Can you please compare and contrast Raven and Bitcoin's network security?
Sure. Yeah. So the code is the same. So we started with Bitcoin's code, so the code's essentially the same. So what really sets the security is the amount of mining hash power, and of course that's higher on Bitcoin. But we also added, because there's the potential for large value, let's say assets on the network, we added some it's called NLR, so it's no long reorg. So after 60 blocks, it basically won't accept a surprise 51% attack. So after 60 blocks, it's actually very, very safe. Now it's possible, let's say a subsea cable or something dropped and you had, something happened in Asia and another network happened in the US, which could of course happen with Bitcoin as well. When it came back together, it wouldn't resolve itself as smoothly as Bitcoin would, because Bitcoin will just look to the largest proof of work, and Ravencoin wouldn't kind of reconnect, and would have to be kind of manually resolved. But it's a very unlikely scenario, but it also prevents 51% attacks after 60 blocks.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. Next question. What would it take to successfully attack the network with regards to removing assets, void freezing assets, or changing ownership of assets? That's my question. Open.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you can't, the 51% attack type thing that people hear about, and it sounds horrible. It sounds like somebody's got to hold the whole network. You actually can't, you can double spend, but you can't like change ownership and things like that. There's just limits to what you can do. I mean, unless you like rolled it back until, before the person created the asset, for example, and then bought your own with the same name. And again, the 60 block kind of.
Uh-oh, I think we lost him again. John?
Shit.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. We lost that last 5 seconds.
Okay, you can't change ownership. You'd have to roll the chain back. You can't change ownership after 60 blocks. It won't accept a surprise reorg, and so there's really no way to change ownership of an asset. Like if you own it and you've gone past the 60 blocks, you own it. even 51% attacks can't like create new coins. They can't. There's a lot of things they can't do. They can double spend coins that they owned before, and that's the attack that people usually hear about is someone sending to an exchange, turning that whatever coin it is into Bitcoin or something like that, then rolling it back far enough back that the coins never really went to they kind of disappear from the bank account, if you will, or the custodial account of the exchange, and then they spend them somewhere else, meaning they spend them back to themselves, for example. So that's really the 51% attack. So you can't. I mean, you can do that within Ravencoin, but only within the 60 blocks, and even then, it's getting far more difficult, especially with the price rise. Because while we don't talk about like price being that important, it is important from a security perspective because it means more people are mining and it increases the cost of the attack.
Gotcha. Okay. John has returned, thankfully.
Yes.
And we have Mango Farm on the podcast. Yes. So, John, back to you.
Hello. So we got everybody in the house finally. Thank you, Mango Farms, aka Doug in the house. So, like I said, with everyone that first enters the podcast, I like for them to formally introduce themselves and what do they do before blockchain. So, Doug, if you may, please go ahead and talk about how you got into blockchain technology.
Sure, thanks, John. So my name is Doug Pepe. I'm a lawyer in New York. I practice complex commercial litigation in New York City and Manhattan. Practice nationally, but my office is in Manhattan, at least pre-COVID. I got into blockchain, started out as a miner, and started developing. Now I own a company called Mango Farm, and I own part of a company called IP Assets, both of which tokenize assets on the Ravencoin blockchain. I'm also an adjunct professor at George Washington University Law School, where I teach blockchain law and technology.
And you're a legitimate lawyer, right? Because that was like the big question mark. Is he really a lawyer or is he not?
Yeah, I'm a full-time practicing lawyer in Manhattan, and I do fairly large, complex commercial litigation, usually in the multi-billion-dollar range.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we did actually skip through a lot of questions on the list that were actually dedicated to you, Doug. So actually, at the moment, let's see, where are we at? Jake, question number, are we on 14?
Yeah, I was highlighted. 14 would be the next one. But now that Mango's here, you should definitely ask the Mango question from before that we didn't get when he wasn't in.
Right. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's Mango. How do you create an encrypted asset?
So there really is no such thing as an encrypted asset. What you encrypt is the metadata that gets attached to an asset. So I think Tron probably went over this, and many of the listeners, if they use Ravencoin a lot, know this, but I'll just back up for a second. An asset on Ravencoin is a UTXO that, with a unique name. It's got quantity, it's got units, and then it's got a special IPFS hash attached to it. That hash is a reference to a document. It allows you to actually, locate the document on the IPFS network. That hash can be anything, right? So it can be anything from a picture to a movie to legal documentation. So what we did on Mango Farm was, created a system where you could put your PGP key, a public key for encryption purposes, into an asset, right? And that then gets sent to one of the addresses that you control. And it's sort of like a public registry. Someone can look up that PGP key and say, all right, this PGP key goes with this Ravencoin address. So technically, then you know the identity of the person you want to create an asset for, and you know their encryption key. So you encrypt basically on the sender side, on the asset creator side, you encrypt the PGP key of the recipient. So you're encrypting metadata, and that metadata then gets hashed and put on IPFS, and then that gets attached to the asset. And then when you send it, only the recipient can open it because they're the only one with the private key associated with that PGP public key. So that's sort of a short answer.
Nice. Thank you. All right, number 14. Jake, did we get to number 14
Yeah,
or should
you
I
were
ask that one?
just asking regarding the encrypted assets, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now we're on to are the active security audit options, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so let's see. Anyone please answer this question. Are there any active security audit options to help protect against future hacks? Asked by Mike. Mike, thank you. And thank you, Mike, for for giving up your chair so Doug can jump in. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So currently there are no active security audits going on. We are evaluating two firms right now, ISC and I have to look up the other one that I'm talking to Monday for the pay to script hash pull request that's currently there and being ready to be deployed once we have it audited. And what we'd like to do is audit anything that affects consensus. So the important stuff, right? The stuff that, I mean, change a spelling word and things like that. Change colors, add GUI options, make things easier, add pictures, all that kind of stuff. Those don't need to be audited. They just don't impact anything if something goes wrong. So, but the core stuff that affects the consensus and the rules and the network, we want those audited.
Nice. Okay, we got about like a good 6 or 7 more questions. All right, next question. Can you explain the open source emphasis on Raven mobile wallets and what it needs to get it working well? And or how easy, what can a user do to upload their own mobile to Play/Apple Store?
Yeah, so it's a little tricky for individual users to create wallets and put them up because the rules that Apple has says that you need to be an organization, and so it's one of the functions of the Ravencoin Foundation is to kind of have that account, like a corporate account, and the keys and stuff to be able to do a wallet. And I think they did that because people were taking open source wallets, making them into wallet stealers and then uploading them. And so it's a kind of a legit thing that they did that. But yeah, the wallet is open source. It does need some work. The issues are listed in the GitHub. If people want to take those roles on, the Ravencoin Foundation just recently came into some funding. Will help fund developers that want to take on those tasks of just improving it. It does work. It's a little had a little problem during this recent Raven price run up because so many people jumped in that the syncing wasn't working. But that was really an open. We need more full nodes, and so I think as we get that fixed, they'll work better. But there's still some things that need to be worked on them.
Good, good. Yes, and we did mention the donation from the 570,000 Ravencoin donation from Blockchain Tiger.
Which was amazing. Yep.
Amazing. It's great. That's what I was saying earlier. So I know you guys are going to put that to good use. So
Yep.
it's great. All right, next question. Where? Let me see. Okay, where has the Raven network received funds for legal services from, and where have those services been spent so far? Written by or asked by LSJI07.
Yeah. So originally, we needed a legal opinion. This is a long time ago. This would have been in early-ish 2018. We needed a legal opinion for it to get on Bittrex, and so there were some funds raised for that. And then Doug, who's on the call, basically, and I'll let you take the story from here, Doug.
Sure. I saw that folks were gathering money to try to do this, and I knew that I could do it, so I did it. And Tron, I had never even spoken to Tron or met Tron or Bruce or anybody, really. I'm a community member, and but I could do it. And I woke up. It was a Saturday. It was in June of I forget what year now. I think 2018. And I turned to my wife. We were supposed to go to the beach with the kids, and I said, look, I'm going to take some time off and do this thing. And she said, sure, go ahead. So she went to the beach, and I wrote the first draft of what became an article that I published. I posted it on the Ravencoin wiki that satisfied the listing requirements for the exchange. So that sort of put an end to the community effort to generate funds. I just didn't think a decentralized, it was very early on in the project. I didn't think, it was necessary when I could do it, and I could do it for free for the project to start, gathering money. So that money was actually used for, it sat in a wallet for a while, and I believe, Tron, you correct me if I'm wrong, that went over into the code audit, audit wallet just recently. So
yeah, that it did get transferred recently, so I believe it did. And then there was some excess for the code audit wallets that still is there, and I think we're going to try to use those for code audits going forward.
Yep. So Tron, I don't know if you want to mention, Josh and his pro bono offer, which I think was pretty extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yep. So one of the things we were looking at doing is having the network provide some of the funding for the foundation going forward to be able to, get developers, keep the code safe, monitor it, and things like that. And it's not a foregone conclusion. It's just a kind of proposal that's out there. But we wanted to make sure that it didn't cause any problems like XRP has, right? Where it's like, hey, wait a minute, that's centralized and has issues with securities or whatever. And so, we have Josh Lawler from Zuber Lawler law firm, and he agreed to do it for free to analyze that and provide a report for us. So that's in progress at the moment, and it's amazing offer from him.
All right, great. Question number 17. Is the Raven network taking steps to prevent inflation of transaction fees becoming a problem like currently on the Ethereum network?
Yeah, so it's actually you can say it's a problem, but it's also a necessary evil, because there's X amount of space, and how do you allocate that space? And so it's built in basically the same mechanism that Bitcoin uses. If the chain is fully loaded, then it will start sorting transactions. By default, miners can mine whatever they want, right? They can pick whatever transactions in whatever order they want, but by default, it's going to take the ones that pay the miners the most, which is, of course, what the miners would probably want anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's really just think of it like a concert hall, right? And if you have 1 million people that want to go to the concert at $1, right? Well, make it $10, and now there's 500,000. Make it $50. So it's just a mechanism to balance the load on the network. So it could get high, but it also means the network's fully loaded, and it has to sort it, and it sorts it out economically.
Okay, all right. So here's a question from Mike. What would have to happen to make the character max longer, and how complex is the issue?
Well, it would require consensus change, just because the rules are there to not allow more than it would be doable. To some degree, we didn't want it really long, because if you were there in the beginning, people were putting like full sentences that weren't like stuff you'd want your mom to hear.
Oh wow!
on chain, right? As an asset name. And you can still do that, but you're limited to 30 characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question number 19. Is it possible to end, this is from me, because I'm having this issue with some pools that I was mining with. So is it possible to empty a pool wallet without leaving any dust? Basically, are you able to sweep miner wallets to zero, including the UTXO?
Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, it would depend a little bit on the software you're using, but if the software calculates, the fee properly and everything, there should be no reason that you can have it go to zero. I do know that some of the wallets, for example, though, do, let's say you set them up and it kind of builds, and they hold it, right? And so it's custodial for a while. And then you can say, I want to sweep it or have it automatically swept when it hits 100. And so you just kind of get them in blocks of 100. Mm-hmm. For those, at some point, if it swept it, and let's say there was like, a third of a Raven or something like that, you could send it. I just don't know if it's if the software is kind of set up to do that. But there's no reason you can't, as long as it's more than the fees to send it.
All right. Let's go to the next question. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pass over the questions over to Mike, just because he's been so kind to give up his chair a few times throughout this podcast so others can join and chit-chat with us. So, Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Let's see, Mike, if you don't mind taking over question number 20, thank you for coming back.
Yeah. So this question is from the Wave 100. What is IPFS, and how does IPFS and Raven work together?
That's a great question. Love the question.
Yeah.
So IPFS,
Favorite of mine.
It's an interplanetary file system, and it's not really it's a way to reference files, and then also a way to distribute files in sort of a decentralized way. It doesn't really hold files. It'll temporarily hold files for you, and that's where it gets a little confusing, because if people put files out there, a lot of times you can get them back right away. But if no one's kind of holding them or pinning them, meaning becoming a canonical source for them somewhere in the world, then they can disappear, right? It's not an infinite file storage system, but it is a pretty good content delivery network, and also a way to always know that the file you're referencing hasn't been tampered with. And that's because the name of the file is the hash. And so if it's tampered with, it's really not the same name. And if it's the same name, it's the same file. And so by putting the hash or the IPFS content identifier into the blockchain, so that can't change, right? That's tamper proof. Then it's referencing the same file. And you know that the file outside, even though it's not, the whole file is not on chain, you know that if you get the file back, that you've gotten back the same file that you were referencing. So hopefully that helped. It might have been a little confusing.
Yeah, cool. That's it. Okay, so the next question is, are you following EIP 1559, and what are your thoughts on how that relates to Ravencoin?
I have not been following it. I've seen that it's contentious, but I've not been following it.
It's pretty much Ethereum's kicking off GPU miners, and there's like kind of a question in the air where all these GPU miners going to go.
Oh, that's great for us.
Yeah, look, Ethereum. I've been an Ethereum miner over the years for a while, and Ethereum's a couple of times Ethereum has cut the block reward with relatively little notice, and because Ethereum was still remain the most profitable GPU mineable coin most times. I mean, Ravencoin's actually beaten it with some cards at some times, but over the long run, Ethereum has been pretty profitable to mine. As Ethereum's profitability declines, especially with 1559, and as Ravencoin's profitability stays sort of around where it is, you're going to start to see more GPU miners over Ravencoin, which is just it's awesome.
Cool. And are you guys aware of anyone on the Ravencoin network working with DeFi, or steps they're taking to put Ravencoin on DeFi?
Yes. Yep. There is one. OpenDAO is looking at that, and yeah. So there's two options there. One is to do sort of a wrapped Raven. Although I say this carefully because looks like there's a scam out there. So I want to preface this with there's a scam out there for W Raven. Concept is great. The one that's out there looks like a scam. So just because I'm going to say it, I don't want that to be a thing that people jump onto. But a wrapped Raven, which is where somebody custodies the Raven, it holds onto it and then mints something over on the Ethereum network, or really any of the other DeFi networks, right? It could be ADA or EOS or any of those. Mints them over there. What that allows you to do is use Raven as collateral. Again, preface this with that can be risky, but use it as collateral in other operations. Loaning and borrowing and all those kind of things are possible on a decentralized way over on various DeFi networks, and so it would allow that. And there's another one that I prefer, but is a little more takes a little more work, and that's Raven, RVN, right? So making a Raven, and that one has a little bit more. It's not kind of an organization standing there burning and minting. It's the technology doing it, and so they're actually looking at doing that as well. And then also they're planning on doing a stable coin, which would allow Raven to become collateral for a stable coin over on the various DeFi networks.
Cool. Now, could either one of you guys explain what the Ravencoin MetaMask is and the features that would be in it, such as syncing and third-party web developer tools?
I have seen it, but I don't know the details of it, so I don't want to go very deep into the technology on that. But I've seen it.
Okay. And Doug, could you kind of explain how the Mango Farms wallet works and how it doesn't need to sync to the blockchain? You don't have to wait.
Sure. I mean, Mango Farm it's a web wallet. It's principally designed, like any web wallet, including a MetaMask. Without hardware support, it's really designed not so much to store large amounts of Raven on it, although it has a wallet. It's really designed as an asset builder. So sort of the key feature of Mango Farm is that asset builder. And it's a web form that allows you to attach, to put some metadata on an asset, information like, name of the asset, who the issuer is, contact information and that sort of thing. And you can take it or leave it. You can put that information in or not. And so one of the key features is you can attach multiple documents. And when you look at them when you view them, it looks just like an email in a way. An email with some information, some sort of headline information, what the asset name is, whether it's reissuable, the quantity. But then you can attach, any number of additional files to it, which is pretty cool. So you can, it was designed for people to actually use if they wanted to, tokenize something, create a blockchain asset and put legal documents to it. Most Ravencoin assets now that people are making or have made, other than the ones who've made them on the Mango Farm platform, are single file, right? It's a picture or it's a one document, and it gets hashed on IPFS and it gets put on the blockchain. But for when people are actually going to use this, and as people actually use it for for actual working products, you need more. You need multiple files. There's really no such thing as a single file legal document for anything substantial. So that's why I did it, and it's free. I mean, the Mango Farm is in a sense the development platform for the projects that I've been working on separate from Mango Farm. They're branded differently, but the tools that are in Mango Farm are the same tools that we're using for those other projects. So I hope that answered your question. I don't know if you have any further follow-up.
That does. That actually leads into another question about, is it possible to create a website on a Ravencoin token, kind of like how Unstoppable Domains does it?
Yes.
Yes. You can do anything that you can do on IPFS on a Ravencoin token.
So
Right.
someone's actually done it. I don't remember the name of the token, but someone actually did it as a test. And so the token and the metadata actually goes to a website, a static website, but a website. Yep.
Cool. Let's see here. And that, I think, is the last question. Sean wants to take over.
Okay, sure. All right. So Tron, you had a very successful vocal AMA on Friday, right? That was your first vocal AMA, to my understanding, right?
Oh, I've done lots of AMAs, but usually for exchanges and things like that just want to bring kind of traffic. So I've done lots of AMAs, but this one was one where I'd like to start making sure that if people have questions that I'm there to answer them, and if they don't, then we can maybe space out the AMAs further apart. I just want to make sure that there's not this pent up demand for like getting answers that aren't being answered. That's all. So yeah.
Great. So you definitely plan on doing that a lot more in the future.
Yep, I plan on doing it. I think I'm going to try to do it every other week. We may change the time slot. I'm kind of leaving that up to one of the community members if they think there's a better time for me to do it. But right now, it'd probably be after the dev meeting on Fridays, right? So
Awesome. That's perfect. That's perfect because there was so much positive feedback. Everybody in the Raven community was just talking about how amazing it was just to hear your voice and just talk and just answer questions. They loved it so much. It was great. So even though you're pretty much already doing the same thing on text based, but I guess just to hear your voice just had a huge impact on people, and there was so much positive energy going around. All
that's
right.
good
So
to
how
hear. Thanks.
so how about integrating virtual reality, having like a room where people can participate and sit in, and where you can actually display images of what
Yeah,
Ravencoin is doing?
I actually love that idea. So the board is actually meeting in spatial.io.
Uh-huh.
And we had a little problem with it the last board meeting, so we actually had to switch to Zoom. But before that, the board meeting was great, and we can put up documents that we need to review up on a wall, and you just have to like hop over closer to them, and you can read them, and
Mm-hmm.
and we can raise our hand to vote and things like that.
Yes.
So it worked out great. So I'd like to set up the same kind of thing. Uh, and have just a time where everybody can kind of come and sort of an informal meetup, but from around the globe.
Oh wow, that's so exciting! That's super super exciting. I can't wait for that to come out. I'm gonna be so giddy just jumping in there. Like,
Yeah,
all right, Tron, thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
if you haven't tried Spatial, it's pretty
Oh,
interesting. You can
I
join
have.
from a mobile phone or from like a Zoom screen, where the people that come in from a Zoom screen, they're just like a floating screen that you can place. You can place it on the wall wherever you want, and that person's just like there. And then of course most VR headsets, which of course much more interactive. It's pretty fun.
These board meetings were the first times I've ever used Spatial, and I have to say, I mean, it's just great. I'm going to use it for
It's
other.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. I
Oh
know.
yeah.
I tested it out too. I downloaded it on my phone, and it's amazing. I love it. So I
Yeah.
can't wait for you guys to integrate that more and open it up to the public to come in. Now, on my experience with Ravencoin, I've actually been, I guess, blessed in the sense that I've been able to utilize my Raven tokens to create my own assets. So I have a C3 token that I've actually already gave out as a gift token to Tron. So Tron's already received it. I know Mike's received it. I know Jake Jabarelli's received it. And I'm going to continue giving these out as gift tokens for anyone that participates on the podcast. And every token that I give out is an equivalent to the amount of minutes that you spend on the podcast. So once it's published, I go ahead and distribute the amount of minutes in tokens. So that's a gift from me to all you that are on the podcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
I've
you.
also, I've
Great.
also, I've also been able to create another asset that's Moonjay Media that I plan on experimenting and creating sub assets from, because I haven't so far created sub assets, but I want to continue experimenting on the Ravencoin platform only because it's so easy and the community is so nice. That's the biggest thing that, and I told Tron this on the last time that he was on the podcast, that the reason I stuck with the Ravencoin community is because they're so nice, man. They're not like demonic. Other blockchains out there, they're very hatred, man. It's all about the FOMO, and if you get in their way, they're gonna smash you. It's like, no. When I came over to the Ravencoin community, oh man, it's people like Pathfinder, nonprofit, just being able to answer questions just without being flustered. And sometimes these questions were very simple. Once you already know what the answers are, it's very simple. But it's thanks to nonprofit and Pathfinders, and even Mike just to answer these questions. So that's what I like about the Ravencoin community. So I'm going to continue doing my part and working on it. I have this I had this thing that I'm trying out. And keep in mind, even though Jake and Mike says that I'm a developer, I am not a developer. I'm copy and pasting a bunch of stuff. And my next project that I have coming out and that I'm going to say here is I'm going to try to attempt to make using the Ravencoin blockchain. I'm going to integrate it with IPFS and a storyline using Android VR. Did that make sense? Kind of tether that all together in a story mode. So
Yeah.
you download the Android app. There's going to be a story mode attached to it that's integrated with IPFS and in turn built onto the Ravencoin blockchain. That to me is a fun little project that I'm working off of the side. Hopefully within a month I'll have that out. So thank you all for being on the podcast, Tron, Mango Farms. Go ahead. Actually, is there any last words you guys want to talk about?
I'll just say thanks for having me on, and sorry for the technical difficulties.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you, John, and I apologize for the difficulties on getting me on as well. I'm very happy to have been here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I hope to have you guys back on pretty soon, and hopefully we can try to solve this issue with having a limitation of people on the podcast. I didn't know there's a limitation on there, but now I know. So we'll try to figure this out for the future.
Maybe
Actually,
put it on VR.
Actually, yeah, put it on VR, exactly. Actually, I'm kind of curious, Tron. The last time we spoke, Ravencoin was sub 10 cents. I think it was sitting at 8 cents the last time you were on the podcast. And I think because, you were on my podcast and I published it, it went up.
It went up to like 28 cents. Yeah, it was quite the run.
Yeah, nice. There you go. Well, with that said, thank you all for being on the podcast. With that said, stack sets and hodl. Adios. Bye-bye.